Hello there, dear friends. So this video I'll be walking you guys through on how to make this such a good design that has been designed rebel user called Chaptari Jas, who's also a UI UX designer for a company called Pico Design. So as you can see, thank you. I would like to thank Chaptari here for sharing the work that she has been working, and it's really wonderful where she has made it available for people like us to get inspired and learn more of designings. So as you can see, this is a sales dashboard here where we can actually track sales of your products. Let's say you're having an e-commerce website, so you just need to happen to have have like an admin panel or a way to actually manage all your products. And also there are also other widgets here. As you can see, there's this widget here. This meant for tracking your graph, like to see how much of transaction and purchases that have been made in a particular product in a particular store. This is a design, by the way. And let's make something like this, by the way, in Figma. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be just walking you guys through on how to make something like this in Figma, so that you'll be able to learn a lot of UI UX terms and tools that I can actually share with you while designing first. So let's get started. Without further ado, let's open Figma. So in this case, I have to go to Figma here. That's the Figma. And there you go, guys. So as you can see, this is just a blank empty Figma project that I've just created just by going to figma.com. And of course, you just need to be clicking on create new design file, and you are able to end up here like this here. So first of all, I'd like to introduce some of the assets that I have gathered. As you can see here, I happen to have gathered some nicely looking icons from flaticon.com. So you're able to fetch something like this also, because they all are free, by the way, free to use. And yeah, I think we have already gathered this particular since we have already gathered this particular assets, we can just directly start designing our dashboard here, which is a sales dashboard. So let's get started. The first of all, usually we'll always be starting with frame. Let me just click on this frame button here, and once you have already clicked this, you will find that on your right hand side you will be able to have a list of frames here. So usually we'll be using desktop here. So because desktop is what we're designing, because you are designing a dashboard for desktop. So in that case, I like to click on dashboard. As you can see, there are a lot of options. For example, you have MacBook Pro, and there are many of these particular frames you can actually choose from. Options that we can actually choose from. For example, let's get I usually go with desktop here. So let's zoom this a bit bigger, and there you go. Now this is your frame here. This is the frame that we're gonna make use of. Let me just zoom it a bit more bigger. Okay, now as you can see here, usually we'll be having some configuration for this particular frame here. Usually we'll be starting with make the background to be a bit more darker, so that you're able to see the corners here, you're able to see more accurately and sharply. So let's select on this particular frame, and let's just put like around this. You can start with 25 pixels, and as you can see now, it is actually rounded, by the way. And as you can see, usually it shouldn't be very rounded. Let's make it a bit more lesser than 25. Let's make it like around 18, and yeah, I think this should do, because 18 is just enough to make it look better. I mean, in terms of this particular rounded corners. So as you can see, the next thing that we can do, actually, we can start on with the left sidebar menu, in which we'll be making use of all these icons that we have gathered here. So in this case, I would like to go and I like to have some separator line here. In this case, I like to make this line here. Just like make a straight line like this. Okay, by making this straight line, I'll be able to make like a separator. And of course, let's say I can actually make it even more lighter. For example, in this case, this color is black. What I can do, I can just make it light color, so light enough so that it's able to be very soft and not so contrast at the same time. So that's what it's all about. And the next thing is, let's start adding the menus that you will be finding here. So let's get started. Let's take a text tool. The first text tool is going to be pasting like this, by the way. And it says inside here, I'll be just saying overview. Okay, so usually I'll be using a different font here. My favorite font for this particular project, I would say Urbanist. So Urbanist is actually a new font I just found out, and it's kind of new, and I really like the structure or the sans format of this particular font. So I like to use black, because that's the most thickest. But as you can see, it's too thick, by the way. So let's make it less thick. So that's what I'm gonna make it. I like to use bold. Yeah, bold will be just enough, by the way. Or I think if you it's not for bold, we can also use semi bold, or you can also use, or you can just go with extra bold, which is either way it's just enough. And as you can see here now, it's as you can find your text to be arranged in this way. You like to have your text to be arranged vertically. So in this case, I like to make it a bit more, the size to be a bit more larger. So I like to go from 12. I would like to make it to 15. Okay, yeah, 15 is just enough. And of course, let's make this. I mean, let's not give any space and unnecessary spaces at the bottom here. Just make it like this. And yeah, of course, whenever we are going to make this particular option to be together with an icon here. For example, we have a couple of icons here. So you're going to just select one of this, or in this case I'm going to take the first icon and I'll be placing it right here. As you can see, this icon is too big at the moment because yeah, it's just not following any of the size here. So as you can see, I just made it to be smaller, and I would like to make it even more smaller so that actually does not overly differ from its text, by the way. So let's make it something like this, by the way, and I'm going to place it around here. So I like to make this to be yeah, the text to be a bit more lesser. And as you can see here, I must be able to place it like this. And it's, of course, since it's too big compared to the text here, let's make it a bit more smaller. Okay. And now, yeah, you're able to make it. I mean, you can see that this is like almost the ratio is a bit more relevant, and equally they are actually distributed. And as you can see, the height will be almost the same as well. As you can see, the height is the same. You can actually see this height that's coming from here used to be 19 here, and this height is also yeah, it's actually 17 by the way, but I think this is still okay. I would say it's just perfectly yeah, it should be matching with each other. So let's select both, and we need to make them as a group first. And once you have made them as a group, as you can see here, we need to be making, yeah, you just need to make sure like this. And of course, usually we'll be making yeah, usually we'll be making it to be placed the center. We need to use use of this particular align middle option, so that it actually aligns in the center. Of course, you need to be selecting it, and of course you need to be reducing the size. And of course, let's since the group, by the way, let's add auto layout as well, and then just now it's perfectly aligned in the center. Okay, now next thing is we're gonna make a list of this particular component which we have just built. So it's gonna make sure it's gonna make a couple of copy of this. Okay, do not worry about the distance, the gap between each and every single options, because you can use auto layout to automatically lay them out properly. So as you can see here, I put so 9 icons here. So I'm just gonna make use of 9 and 10 because we have just used one just now. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna make all of this to be. I'm just gonna select all of this first. Of course, you need to be selecting all of them. And let's say I've selected all of them already. So I need to make sure that I must be using this. I mean, of course, I need to make them into a group first, group selection, and then I can actually click this option called auto layout. Okay, now as you can see, the distance, the gap between each and every single options are actually consistent. Yeah, as you can see, we have put 24 here, right? So every single gap you see here is 24 pixels. And let's say if you don't like 24 and you wanted to increase the size, you can just simply make it like this. This is really easy and actually easy to use when you're actually on an ongoing project. It's really helpful for most of the time. And as you can see here, what we can also do is that we can also increase the size a bit more bigger. And once you have already made it bigger, we can also make it align to the middle like this, align to the center. I mean, sorry, not this, but this. And of course, we don't want it to be aligned in this center, but we would like to have it aligned in this, yeah, in this section of this desktop here. So I like to do I like to make like a frame here. This case I like to call like frame here, just to put another frame inside this desktop frame like this, so that I'll be able to make it available for only for certain elements to be inside it. For example, in this case, what I can do here, I can just put a frame here, and I can take this component which we have just built. I like to copy this. I like to paste directly inside this frame, and once it has been pasted, what we can do here is that we can actually make it align to the center like this. And yeah, because basically this is only aligned to the center here. That's why you're able to see it like this. And yeah, that's how you're able to list them out. And the next thing is that we need to be adding like an icon for the logo here. For example, in this case, I like to make the logo like how, like I would say, I'm just going to say logo, something like this. So I have to make it bigger, about like, I mean, this is too big. Okay, this is just some simple logo that I just make just to fill up some gaps here. And the next thing is that I like to make it. I like to select both of these components here, like this, like group selection. And what I can also do is that I can actually make it, I can like click on align middle. So as you can see, the whole items are actually in one group and they're all aligned in the center. Okay, the next thing is also like I like to separate. Let's say I like to select only these four particular options. Okay, once I've selected them, I like to make them into one group. The group them to selection, and also this will be a different group. Okay, so that the reason why I'm doing this, because I'll be able to separate from each and every single one of them. I mean, this is the first group here. As you can see, this is the first group and this is the second group. Of course, I need to make sure that they are in yeah, in the correct, in the same group, this. And the next thing here, as you can see, I'm able to perfectly let them like, yeah, arrange them properly in a perfect manner. So that's what all is about. So in this case, it will be very easier for me to align them properly in the center like this. Okay, so as you can see, now they're all aligned in the center. Now it's really easy for me to get started. And then of course I need to make sure this is not so at the bottom, towards the bottom here. And yeah, that's it. That's what you need, by the way. And just need to make sure you're actually placing it center, like center, as in like this. Okay, now this is perfectly centered. And let's add some more separator here, just to separate between the top menus and the bottom menus. I'm going to make like a simple line here, and this line will be almost be having a very light color like this. And yeah, that's it. You just need to be making sure that we are actually following the same color code for this as well. And let's fill up, and there you go. Now you're able to find the the left bar menu is already done. The last thing is that we just need to make sure that we are actually adding some context. As you can see, all of these are actually overview, by the way, which we don't want it to be in that way. So I'm just gonna transfer everything, all these icons here directly into this particular menu options here. So that's what I'll be doing here. So it won't take very long, so it's going to be very quick. And there you go, guys. Now I've just added all the respective icons just to its respective name. For example, as you can see, overview, we're having this particular name, and so on. As you can see, there's products, analytics, schedule, and help, community, settings. So what you can actually do in here is that I like to add some more spaces between these two elements, which is the icons here and the text here. So in this case, I have to make sure I need to make them center. And of course, we can directly click on this. By the way, as you can see, we are just using 5 pixels to separate them. Let's just increase the spacing between the items up to 10, around like this. So now it will be nice, far more better than this now. So let you do the same thing for all of this. And there you go, guys. Now I've already added the spacing of 10 between each and every single items for all the all the single option menu here. Now as you can see, they are far more better looking than it used to be. And yeah, we can actually proceed with this, or of course, if you wanted to add more distance between them, for example, in this case I only add 10. If you would like to add about like 20, would be perfectly fine for you as well, because it all depends on you as well. So let's proceed. Okay, so the next thing that we would like to do is that I like to add some color. Yeah, just before actually moving on to the next section, just like to make some simple coloring like this. And there you go. Now we already done the logo as well as the other stuffs as well. So now we are able to good to go with the next component. As you can see here, we are now going to make use of this particular other components we're going to be making use here. So first of all, we're going to be having some, of course, we need to be separating this sidebar menu to the main component here, I mean the main frame here. So this particular sidebar menu, its background is going to be white color, while this particular desktop will be having a slightly dark, I mean less gray, like this, around like F5, yeah, triple F5, so something like this. So this is the component that we'll be using this for. If you want to make it a bit more lighter, I mean, for example, as you can see here, I'm using S5 here, but then you can actually make it a bit more lighter for your project. So yeah, it totally depends on you, by the way. Okay, something like this. So this is just perfectly fine. And the next thing is that let's add some text to actually welcome the user. So in this case, I like to say, hello, John, something like this. And yeah, I like to add some emoji here. Say like this. And yeah, it won't be really hard. We just want to make it something like this, by the way. And yeah, you can actually make it like this also. And yeah, and let's make the size of this text to be very smaller than this, because this is not how usually it will be, the size will be. So let's go and add around like 36 would should do. And yeah, that's it. We should be able to good to go with this particular 36 pixels of design. And of course we need to be making sure that this particular emoji is actually the same height as this as well. As you can see here, the height of this basically is let me just see, the height is around 30. So that's what I'll be using. I'll be using, making sure that's not so much, just 30 should do. And there you go. Now we're able to yeah, just make both of those to be in the same group like this. And yeah, that's it. Just make them to the same group and just add some layout and just make them to be in the center. And that's it. This is the first simple welcoming sign. So the next thing here we like to do is we're going to be adding our first ever component here, a component widget. For example, let's say if I were to take a simple example of a frame here, I like to make like a simple small rectangular shape like this. So what I'll be doing here is that I'll be just going to be making like a simple rectangle shape tool like this. And in this particular rectangle frame here is that I'll be having it to be having a fill of white, something like this. And this is going to be having, of course, let's make the gray, the background to be a bit more darker, because you can see it's not so contrasting the front, for example, here. So I like to add some corners here, about like 5. Yeah, 10 should do. And with this thing here, I'd like to add some line graph here. So line graph will be the one that's going to be making sure that it's going to be really nice here. So I like to bring this here, and I like to copy. I like to make it into do the design right here, as you can see here. Because as you can see, I like to make it so that I'll be able to create this into a component, and I can just directly paste it here. Okay guys, so what we're going to do here, we're going to be doing a line graph here using this pen tool that we're going to be using. So just going to make a simple line graph like this. Just going to make something like this, and yeah, that's it. And without selecting anything at all, what we're going to do, we're going to add some more lines here. Just going to be adding some curves here using this bend tool like this. Just some simple, very little, yeah, it's a small curve should do like this. Okay, and some curve here as well, and here, sorry, not so much, just simple little curve here and here as well. And there you go. Now you already happen to have a nice good looking curve line here. And the next thing you should do is that, of course, you need to click done. And this is your line here. And the next thing you should do is just make a copy of this. Okay, in that second vector here, which we have just duplicated it from, what we're going to do here, we're going to be making the gradient of the graph here. So inside this, once you have selected the second graph here, like just select the second graph. Once the second graph is selected, just need to click on this edit object, and you can actually continue this shape here by making sure all of this the whole items, actually this whole graph is connected to each. It's like a closed object. So let's click on the last item which we have just left, and just going to be just going to be connecting the points here from the start to the end point like this, and just going to make it something like this. And right now it's already a complete, like a closed object like this. Let's click done. And what we're going to do here, we're going to be adding some fill, and this fill will be adding the linear kind of fill. For example, in this case, I like to add some blue like this, and this is not just blue, it's going to be yeah, white, something like this, and this is just enough like this. Okay, so now let's click enter. Okay, now as you can see, this is perfectly fine here. And then of course we won't be needing this particular this border, the black color stroke here. The border is like not necessary for the second vector, just remove it for the second vector. But what you're gonna do with this particular black line in the first vector is that we're gonna make it blue. By the way, just gonna make it some blue here, and of course we're gonna be increasing the thickness to 5 pixels. 5 is too much. Yeah, 2 would be just enough. And yeah, I think 2, 3. I think 2.5 would be perfect, I guess. And then yeah, 2 is perfect. 2.5 is perfectly fine. And the next thing is that let's add some like a dot here, where we can just need to place a simple dot like this, so that we're able to decide which particular line that we are actually selecting. For example, in this case, this is going to be a fill here. It's going to be making it white, and I'll be adding some shadow effects. So just going to be adding some shadow effects and we're not going to use 4 by the way. We're going to just make sure we are using 2, sorry, just 2, something like this. And of course let's make the blur to be a bit more less blur, about of 2, yeah, 2 blur. Okay, this is just enough. Okay, 2, and just make sure you're able to use this format. And the next thing that I like to add is like I like to add like another blue color object right inside here, in this case. Okay, now this is center, just make it blue color, something like this. And there you go. Now you happen to have something, a good looking line graph here, which we have just hit. Let's make all of this into one group like this. Let's select into one group. And the next thing I'm going to do is like I like to add some numbers at the side here. It's going to be very quick. And there you go, I just added some number here, and as you can see here, this is actually arranged vertically. So I like to make something to be the same way, this in the same list, but I'll be like to arrange it in the horizontally. So what I like to do here is I like to make a copy of this, and I like to put it here right below this graph, and I like to make this option to be vertically aligned, something like this, so that it's like automatically aligns to the graph. Okay, so it's like really simple when you're able to use these whole features, the auto layout feature, yeah, by everything. So let's add this, let's add some appropriate info into this particular list of items here. And there you go. Now I added some list of items at the bottom to be arranged in vertically. So let's add some more context. In this case, I have to add some more objects. For example, in this case, I have to add some like let's say what kind of category does it fall of graph. For example, in this case, I have to make some simple button here. In this case, I have to call 5 pixels. Okay, so in this case I like to place a category of type, or you can just say the type, what kind of input data is it, are you going to place it, will you be placing it inside here. So in this case it will be called income, and this income will be having like an, yeah, going to be like a drop down thing here. So in this case I have to make use of another tool, another like like a symbol here, arrow symbol. As you can see here, this arrow symbol doesn't look really good, right? So what I did, let's select this arrow tool here, just change your font to Inter and click enter. As you can see, now you happen to have a nicely good looking arrow. And what I like to do here, I like to make this thing to be pointed to the bottom, something like this. And yeah, and now you will have a nice good looking, yeah, nice good looking button like this. So let's make it place it to the center. Let's make them to be arranged in a proper way, and something like this. And yeah, just select both of them. You just make sure you select both of them are selected, group selection, and just make them align to the center, something like this. Not here, but just make them to group first, and then you're able to make them align to the center, and then you're able to, yeah, just make sure you're able to make them yeah, just make it something like this. Just, yeah, you can also reduce the size of this also, so that you're able to fit directly inside. For example, let's say if I put 8, and this one should be let's make it 8 as well, and there you go. Now you happen to have a nice good looking button like this. Okay, and the next thing I have to do is that I have to make something like this also, but it's going to be a different color. Just going to copy paste this, whatever you see here, just going to be pasting like this. And here I'll be just saying a month, just going to say month, and this one will be, everything will be changed. For example, in this case it's going to be, I'm going to use black color, and this arrow is going to be a black color as well. And I'm just going to change this to be like white, the background to be white. Just make it to the center, make it to the center like this, and just make this to white. And of course let's add some shadow by going to effects, and this shadow will be able to yeah, just make sure the shadow is perfectly nice. As you can see, this arrow is like not showing at the top here. What you'll be doing here, just go to the bottom, add some effects, just, and then what you can do here, just going to be selecting 2, so you'll be the shadow is distributed properly, and including the blur should be a bit more higher, and the opacity should be around like 50%. Yeah, 50% should be just enough. And there you go. Now you happen to have a nice good looking button here also. And of course let's add some more text to give more context to what is this. So for example, this case I have to say sort by, So I just change the font to Urbanist. Okay, and this color is gonna be not so bright, not so dark, and I have to make this the font to be medium. And there you go. Now you happen to have a nice, good-looking buttons here at the top here, and we can also reduce the size to actually match this button here. As you can see, we are using 18, and here let's make it 18 as well, and just make it to the center like this. And yeah, there you go. Now we are able to have a nice, good-looking component that we can actually use. Yeah, need to make sure we actually just make sure we actually center here, and of course be space between as well. And yeah, let's make this to be reducing the let's make the size, the width of this to reduce a bit more smaller like this. And yeah, there you go. Now you happen to have a nice good looking widget which you can actually use it directly. So what you're going to do here, before actually directly importing inside the main dashboard, you're going to be making it into a component like this. So now let's say now this is a component here. Now you can please click copy and just directly paste it inside here. And there you go. Now you can just select, make it like this, and now this is your first component you have just made. And let's go to the second component here. The next component is going to be before that, let me just put the title for this particular component widget here. So in this case it's going to be called analytics. Okay, what you should do, and there you go. Now you can actually select both of this and make them into one group. Okay, now there you go. Now you have just finished your first component, and let's actually yeah, let's go to the next one, which is here. Let's place it like this here. Okay. So what I have to make this to be arranged properly like this. Yeah, this should be good. And the next thing here we'll be placing here is that we're going to be having a different yeah, section. It's going to be called recent transaction. So recent transaction is going to be a different component here. So I like to remove this, by the way, and I like to create a new yeah, let me just make a frame first. For example, in this case it's going to be a smaller frame like this, and yeah, it's going to be a bit more larger than this. And yeah, there you go. Now we can actually make this, copy this frame, and let's fill this with white first. And let's copy, and just going to be doing it here before that, so that we're able to yeah, do it here before we actually start doing in our main component. Okay guys, so in our next component we'll be making use of some asset we have actually gathered here. As you can see, we have just have some simple image here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to make a list of items. For example, in this case I like to have like a frame tool here, just to do some simple square shape like this. And this is going to be having a fill, by the way. This is going to be just making a simple fill like this, just to fill some gap. And I have to have this particular product card will be having some title. In this case I have to say it's going to say mobile app, something like this. And in this case it's going to be just going to say yeah, Chico mobile app, something like this. And it's going to be having a description, a little small description, the simple text description. So let's make this to be a bit more lighter. For example, this is our text extra bold, we can just use medium, and we can also make sure that we are actually using lighter color, something like this. Okay, and we can also like make this the size to be actually reduced far more smaller. And yeah, I think that's it. Okay, now we have already made this into a, yeah, just before make into this to a group. Yeah, let's make this into a group first. So group selection, and let's reduce this the width of this, both of this, something like this. And the next thing I have to do is just like to add like a pricing for this. For example, in this case I have to add like around like $15, just to give some, yeah, just to give some context to this particular product cut of in terms of pricing, something like this. Okay, so what I like to do here, I like to select both of this, and of course this also, and you can make them to a group. And this group will be having, yeah, as you can see here, this two should be a group, by the way, group selection. And while these other groups should be, yeah, let's make this group into an auto layout group, for example like this, and let's make them this, yeah, the spacing should be space between, so that you'll be having only one yeah, as you can see you only happen to have. Okay, so you can just make them into one group like this, and as you can see you must be only be having this two component like this. So just let me just do it again. So just copy this and just make this, it's going to be just two of this, only these two groups here. With these two groups, what you can do, we can make them into one group. Okay, by making them into one group, we can actually make them, and we can actually add some auto layout, and we can reduce, yeah, just make them center aligned, and the spacing is going to be space between, and the next thing is the, yeah, you can actually reduce this size also. Okay, something like this. So the next thing is I'm going to be placing it right inside here. Okay, and of course I'll be increasing the size here as well. Okay, and there you go. Now you can actually select all these two things and make it into one main group, and this main group can be actually made them into a auto layout as well, so that we're able to make them into center, and the spacing is gonna be space between as well. And let's make this align to the center here. So and there you go. Now you happen to have nice product card like this. What you can also do here, instead of this blank page here, I want to take this image here, just like copy this, just going to be pasting it directly inside this particular frame. Yeah, frame which we have just did. This is the frame, and we're just making this, yeah, selecting like this, and there you go. Now you're able to make this something like this. And yeah, let's make this frame to be having some, not this image but this frame. For example, this is the frame, by the way. You can add some radius of 5, or you can say increase, like, 25 should do. I mean 25 is too much, just 10 should be just enough. Okay, and there you go. Now you can able to have a nice good looking, yeah, just make like a 5 copy of this. For example, let's make something like this. I think, yeah, 4 will be just enough, so let's keep it just to 4, and let's group and select all of this and select them into one group. And what we can do here, we can actually make them to be placed aligned to the center like this, and we can also like add them into auto layout and just make it something like this, and we can reduce this particular gap in between them to 18 around here, and we can just make them align to the center. And there you go. Now you have just finished your second widget, and we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to be making this into a component like this, and of course once we have just made a component, just going to be selecting copy and just going to be pasting it directly here as well. And there you go. Now you can just make it just basically like this into a group, and we can even make these two things, which is the title and this particular component, to be in one group. And we can also, like, yeah, just select both of this and just put it in the center like this. Okay, and there you go. Now we have already completed two widgets here, so let's proceed to the third one. Okay, so the third widget is going to be another simple widget here. So it's going to make a simple frame tool like this. It's going to be making a simple rectangle like this also, and yeah, it's going to be yeah, making sure it's like it fills the whole space like this, a simple rectangle like this. Okay, and this rectangle will be also be having a simple fill, and this fill is going to be blue color in this case, so it's going to be a simple blue color like this. Okay, and then of course going to be having some radius, corner radius around 15, and yeah, let's bring this to the right hand side like this. It's going to be placing it right here. Okay, and inside here I'm just going to making a simple text, yeah, some text element like this to be aligned to the center. In this case I have to say agency design kit, something like this, and followed by other details description also. In this case it's going to be will be published, and it's going to be a date here at the bottom. So it's, as you can see, the line height should be increased also like this. Okay, and the next thing here is going to be making some yeah, the date followed by the year, something like this. And let's also add some simple button tool, like a button element like this. In this case going to be white color, and we're having some radius of 15. I mean 15 is too much, 5 is not enough yet, and just give some 10. And yeah, this is far more perfect. And let's add some text here as well. In this case gonna be let's just say set as reminder like this, and let's reduce the size to 12, and let's make it align. Let's make it into one group first, and of course this is going to be aligned to the center. This is going to be using this align horizontal align option. Of course it's going to be, the whole thing is going to be aligned to the center, by the way. And yeah, as you can see here, what you can do, what are you going to be placing inside this particular empty space here. We'll be using the Figma logo here. As you can see here, now we have just finished the third component here. Now we just need to make sure we create this as a component, and we copy this component, and just going to be directly pasting it right here as well. And just going to be pasting it, yeah, just beside this, the first component that we have just did. And as you can see here, what you can do here is that we can actually make both of this into one group, by the way. But before, let me just add this logo, I mean the title of this this component as well. So this widget, which is the blue widget here, so it's going to be called reminder. So next thing we'll be doing here is that I'll be adding the fourth component, the fourth widget here. So I'm just going to be making the same way where we take the frame here. It's going to take the frame to like this. It's going to make a simple shape like this, by the way, just to fill up this two space here, like this and this here. And of course that's this particular height should be following like this as well, 344. And yeah, you just need to be making sure that this we are actually following this style as well. So of course we need to be making sure we fill some with some color. For example, let's say we fill with this. And the next thing is that let's bring it to the just to make sure it's actually the same height as this. And also this particular widget should be also be having the same corner radius of 15 also. And let's just bring it to the here first before making any changes. So what you can do here is that we can actually add some design for this particular widget, where we can actually make use of the same line graph which we just did it here. We're just going to be copying, and we're able to copy and paste it directly here as well. Okay, so we're just going to be making use of the same line tool like this, so something like this. And there you go. Now we have just finished with the line tool here, but it's just, as you can see, this particular shape is not properly weighed. So what you can do here, instead of just going to be copying this and just pasting it right here. And of course this is going to be having the same height also. We'll be having the same height. Now of course I need to be closing. Wait, let me just close this thing before that, and let's copy and just paste it. Okay, now right now we have finished with drawing the making the line here. Just need to make it properly aligned like this, and let's add some description at the bottom here. We just need to be copying this this bottom info which we have did before, and I'm just going to be selecting the frame here as well, and I'm just going to be pasting it right here. And make sure you are able to reduce the size of this so that it actually fits directly inside here as well. And the next thing is of course I'll be adding some more details to this particular graph. For example, in this case I will say month. Okay, so then this only this month will be having a dark color, while the other, for example, we happen to have day, and we also happen to have week. We also happen to have a month, and one more thing is year, something like this. Okay, and we don't be needing the last one here, just going to be deleting the last one. And there you go. Now you're able to make it like this, and it's just going to make sure this is actually placed in the center like this, aligned to the center, and just bring it to a bit to the bottom, and then we are done here. And the last thing to add is actually we need to be adding how much the total balance we are able to gather in one month. For example, in this case I have to say 11.756. That's the thing. Account reached. So basically in this case I have to say place it in the center and make the size to be huge, something like this. So this is really huge, and this is exactly what we wanted. And just make sure it's centered properly. Also this is centered as well. Okay, and of course let's make this to be in one group before that. And yeah, of course, last thing we need to add is some more. Yeah, let's give more info. What is actually this is? So I have to say accounts reached, something like this. So in this case, I have to make it the center. Yeah, make sure this is also aligned to the center as well. Okay, now what I can do here, I can make this text to be light, for example, like this. And of course, the field can be also be like this also. Okay, so instead of using semicolon, I can use medium as well. Okay, now as you can see here, now we are able to make these three stuff into one group, and then we are able to make it something like this, by the way. And yeah, I think we are done with our fourth component. And we can just make it to the bottom like this, and then we are done. Okay, now perfect. Now let's make them into one create component. Okay, so copy this component and we're just going to be directly pasting it inside here. Okay, now as you can see, we're just able to paste it right here. And of course, you need to be having this title also for this. So just paste it right here as well. And it's going to be placing right here. And of course, I'm going to make this two into a group. And the spacing is going to be same like in the previous one. It's going to be 20 pixels. And yeah, that's it. So what you can also do here is that we can actually make these two into one group selection, and we can make them into like an auto layout. You can use auto layout to actually align them properly. As you can see, now they actually aligned properly. And also, let's make this to an auto layout. As you can see, now it's already been made into an auto layout, and they are having a gap of 28. And let's go here as well. As you can see here, they are also having a gap of not 28 but 38. So you can just make it like this also. Okay, you can actually make it something like this. Okay, now we are done with our first half of the project. What you can also do here in the last two components here, we can also do something like this. It's going to be the same as this component here. Copy and paste. And of course, we're just going to be it's going to be detaching the instance. And what we'll be doing here is that we need to be instead of this line graph here, we'll be using a different sort of graph, and that graph will be having like a line graph. For example, let's say in this case I'll be making use of rectangle shape, and it's going to be like this, by the way. So I mean, not like this. I'll be using the rectangle shape and just making it like this, like a shape like this, by the way. And what I can also do here is that I can actually make the round is to be made this to be rounded by having put 100 radius. And I mean, at the bottom you only need to be having these two bottom to be not to have a radius at all. For example, it's going to be 0 and it's going to be 0 as well, and only the top one will be having rounded here. The bottom won't be having any rounded corners. So I like to add some color here, some bright color like this. Okay, and of course followed by another line just beside here, and it's going to be placing it like this. Just making sure it's not so, just need to make sure both of them having the same thickness of 4. This is going to be 4 and this is also 4. Okay, perfect. And just need to make sure all of this actually are actually in one group. For example, let's say this is not in one group yet. So in this case, this is I have to make sure this is actually used in one group like this. And in this case, I have to say instead of November 1, I can put like S to state the day of the like the day of the week, something like this. Okay, so this is going to be making this a bit more at the top here. And what I'll be doing here is I'm making S and just be placing right here. And of course, it's going to be like this. It's going to make it fit inside this two line like this. Okay, now I can make them into one group. All the three things to be in one group by selecting group selection. And next thing here, once I selected this, I can make this to be a different color by having this color like this. And that's the thing that we have just did here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to make a copy of this like a couple of times. For example, this is first one, second, this is going to be third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the last one, okay, 7. Okay, so all of this actually are groups, by the way. I would like to like make them into one group so that I'll be able to easily align them with the same with a consistent gap in each every single between them. So I'd like to make it yeah, of course, let's make them into a group first. Group selection. Once the group selection has been selected, just need to click on add layout as usual. And as you can see now, all of them having the same gap in between them, and make sure you actually we made them into align to the center like this. Okay, now next thing is we're gonna be making use of this particular as you can see, this particular tool here, I mean this particular group here, it's gonna be cutting this, and it's gonna be just placing it like this, and this case is gonna be aligned vertically. We're gonna be placing it like this, put it like this, by the way, and we can actually make them to be a bit to the right hand side so that there's some room for this uh, for our yeah, this particular vertical axis. And let's change these numbers to, I mean these letters to actual number. For example, this is going to be 0, and this is going to be 10, this is going to be 20, and this is going to be 30. Okay, and yeah, that's it. And yeah, what you can also do that you can actually make this two to be the same group, and it's going to be this one is going to be yeah, gray color, same gray as this here. Okay, now we are done. Okay, now they actually align to the center like this. And the next thing is that what we can also do before, I mean, yeah, we can just, yeah, before that, let me just reduce this gap here. This gap seems too much. This is 41. Let's give like around 30. Okay, now they are actually in the center, by the way. Now let's add, just change this text, and just need to add some more context to what exactly the name of this. For example, it's going to be saved this month, and it's going to be another description at the bottom here as well. This one is going to be just going to be saying your payment to be like this also. Okay, now they are actually perfectly lined, so make them into a group, and of course need to be making them into a group. Just make sure you're in the auto layout and just reduce this of, yeah, just you can actually increase the size also, and put it a bit to the top here, and then you're done here. And let's change this number to a different number, for example, and let's reduce the size of this also. Let's reduce it to 40 should also be doing nice. Let's reduce it like this, and let's place it a bit to the bottom. Okay, now we're done with our fifth widget here. Okay, so this one going to be in a separated, but it's going to be a separating line here. So let's add that line here. Let's be adding this particular line to separate between the other half of the components. So this line is going to be having a color. It's going to be very light like this, and yeah, and before that, let me just add the last, the title for this also. So in this case, this title is going to be, I have to place it here first, and it's going to be into one group, and of course I have to make them into one same height. Yeah, it's going to making this into one group also, and of course it's going to be an auto layout, and it's going to be like this, and of course there's going to be a gap, by the way, and yeah, this is how it should look like. And the last component we're going to be doing here is that actually it should be fitting inside here. For example, it should be around like this height, and yeah, around this height should be just enough. And yeah, I think this height is perfectly just enough, and something like this. As long as you're able to align to this particular group, then it should be perfectly fine. So let's give some color to this frame. In this case, going to be filling it white color, and just going to make sure that since it's going to be a simple frame here, this frame will be having a fill of white color like this, and of course we'll be having a radius of 15 as well for their corner. And let's select this, and just we'll be doing something like this also. So I'll be just pasting it right here, and what I'll be doing here is that I need to be copying the price, for example, something like this. So it's going to be not 12k, by the way. It's just going to be $450, something like this. This $450 is basically the it's a transfer money, by the way. So that's what I'll be doing. So I'll be taking this button here, which has already been made, and I'll be putting here, Okay, this button I'll be change the color. Of course, I'll be changing the this to be the text to be white and the color to be blue as well. So it's going to be this blue. Okay, so I'll be pasting it right here. As you can see, the button size is too big to actually to fit inside the container. So what you can do, just reduce the number of words. For example, transfer. You can just gonna say transfer like this. And what you can also do, just we need to make sure we place it in the center. And then we can also make it a bit more smaller to do, and just make it as an auto layout as well. Okay, before I need to make sure it's a group and auto layout. And yeah, of course, just make this into a space between. Okay. Okay, now let's think we can actually change the color of this particular symbol to gray, something like this. And the last thing that we can also do is like add some awesome groups of avatars at the bottom here. So in this case, I'll go to my assets here, and I can actually just select all these assets of avatars here. I have to place it, go to my frame 33 here, and I have to place it right here. And what I can do here, instead of just placing it like this here, I can actually make them to be arranged in a way so that I'll be able to overlap every single one on top of each other. For example, let's make them into a group first for group selection, add auto layout, and as you can see here, I can actually make them into like an overlapping group like this here, last on top, first on top, something like this. So I like to make the last to be on top. And as you can see, when I reduce the gap in between them, they'll be able to overlap on top of each other, something like this. Okay, this is exactly what I wanted also. And before, okay, as you can see, there are like around 5 of them. I can actually make another one just inside this box here, and I have to add like another icon here which I just created. So it's gonna be around 30. As you can see here, now we're able to fit all of these icons that are actually able to be fit like this. Yeah, I think this is just enough. And what we can also do is that we are able to go with this, by the way. And before that, let me just put like a line tool here to separate between the one on the top here and one on the bottom here, like this. And of course, this is going to be a gray, super light gray like this. And of course, it's going to be having a transfer to your team kind of a text at the top here. So I'm just copying whatever I place it here, and just going to be pasting it right here. I would say to be aligned to my left hand side, and this will be having an icon, but which icon will be wait, let me just place it like this. And this, I'll be having another icon called team, and that particular icon can be just pasted like this here. And what I can do here, I can actually reduce the height more lesser like this. And I like to also like make this text to be to my right hand side also. And yeah, you can actually reduce opacity to around like 75%. Okay, now I like to make this into one group, by the way, and this is gonna be an auto layout as well. And just need to make sure we place it in the center. And yeah, I just need to reduce this also. Okay, now since they actually place it to the center like this, see, they are not placed in the center yet. So to make everything to the center. This is won't be in the center, by the way. This is going to be to the left hand side like this. And then we are done with our this particular component like this. And let's create this as a component first. Create a component, and we're just going to paste what we copied here. Let's just need to copy this frame and paste it inside this frame, inside this space here. Okay, something like this. Just need to fit inside here. And of course, we also need to be having a title for this also. Okay, something like this. And just need to make these two into a group, and this group should be having the line, the gap between them to be around 20. And the last thing that we need to be doing is that we need to be adding them into, and that's the thing that we need to be doing. We need to make sure that we still have some gaps here. So this gap will be actually making with once you're done with that, let's add like another component here. In this case, I'll be adding like a an avatar and some other icons like this here. I'm going to copy this set of icons here, and I'll directly I'll be pasting it right here, and this is going to be pasting it directly to here. Okay, so I'll be just pasting it right here just to make sure that it's like perfectly in the center. And also I'll be making this particular avatar to be a bit more larger than the other two icons, because usually avatars are actually bigger than the other icons. And yeah, there you go. Okay, and the last thing that we need, I would do is like I would have like a search tool here, a search box here. Example, you can just literally just use a rectangular shape here. This is gonna be making like a like a search tool like this. Okay, yeah, just as long as it is like able to fit the frame like this, and just gonna be making adding some radius like this, around like 15, and yeah, this 15 radius will be just enough. And inside here I'll be making the fill to be a bit more lighter than it is. Okay, something like this. And of course I'll be using this particular icon here. This is the last icon that I'll be using, and I'll be pasting this particular icon right inside here. And of course it's going to be a bit larger, smaller than it's usually will be. And yeah, it's going to be placed here, by the way. Okay, and also I'll be giving some text. Okay, this particular text where I'm just going to be saying search, search, just search, and it's going to be a bit lighter than it is. And of course this search icon is also going to be lighter than this. I don't know if 50% would do. Okay, and yeah, there you go guys, you have finished almost everything. So as you can see here, we would like to make all this three set of thing to be in one line. So let's make them add some let's make them to group selection first, and then we can actually add some, click on add layout. Oh, as you can see here, all this three things should be in one group first, then we are able to make them into one group. So let's do it again. So let me just ungroup this. So I just need to ungroup first. As you can see, this is like these three things are not right now, it's not a group yet. So let's make them into one group. So I can make them into one group first, and then I can actually add auto layout. Yeah, as you can see, all these things are not center yet. So as you can see, you just need to click on align center. And the next thing is that we need to make sure these two things are actually in one group, and in one group first. For example, in this case, let's select these two first, and let's reduce the gap between them to 150. I mean 150 is still a lot, so I think we'll go with 135. No, still a lot. 120. Okay, now 120 is just enough. And the next thing is like this. There'll be this. Yeah, for this gap, I like to increase it a bit to the left, right hand side, so it's actually fit. Yeah, this particular height here. Okay, so as you can see, we have almost done all the components that we wanted to do. So let's bring this a bit to the bottom here. And the last thing that we would like to do is like I like to make this this background of this dashboard to become white. Okay, so that we're able to. But then as you can see here, there are like problems arises when you're using like you can't see the difference between the background and the foreground of these widgets. So what you can do here, instead of, you can actually add shadows here. So as you can see here, we can just directly go to our components, or you can just directly add it here. Either way will be should work. For example, let's say if I select this particular widget, it's a component here, I can just go to effects. I can just add some drop shadow, but this drop shadow should be very must be really good, by the way. For example, this case I have to make this to be okay, and I have to increase the blur to 50, something like this, and I have to decrease the opacity to 5%. And there you go, now you're able to use this particular format. Okay, now the next thing is we're going to be using the same shadow style for the rest of the other components as well. So as you can see, I have to go to copy. I have to copy the properties, and I have to go here for this particular widget, and I'll be pasting the particular properties like this. And there you go. Now you get to see the shadow effect actually being applied here. And what you can also do is that, yeah, as you can see here, we have only made it to be the y-axis to be 3, so let's make it 4. Okay, now we're able to be, it's evenly distributed. Okay, now let's go to our this fourth component here. We'll be also pasting the same properties like this, and of course in this case this properties will be having effect to be, I mean the y-axis is going to be around like 4. Okay, now that's good. And also if we will be using the same properties will be also be used for the last two components here as well. As you can see here, we also need to be making sure yeah, just need to be adding the more y-axis around like 4. Okay, and the last and not the least is going to be this particular component. So I'll be adding I'll be pasting the properties, which is the shadow properties, together with the I'll be adding the y-axis to 4. Okay, now as you can see here, we have already done all the sections, but as you can see, the separator is missing here. Just like to go here and to have some strokes, and this stroke will only be valid to right hand side, and this stroke is going to be a very light color like this. Okay, and there you go. Now we have also almost done everything, and of course that's yeah, this particular line is super huge, and let's make it 0.5. Okay, now we are done with almost all the things here. Let's, yeah, this is a bit very too much darkness. Let me just reduce it a bit. Like, okay, now this is perfect. Okay, now we are able to be now this is exactly how we would like it to be shown. So yeah, I think you are able to. So thank you guys for watching this video till the end, and I hope you are able to follow up all the steps that I have gone through throughout the entire process of designing this particular sales dashboard. And if you guys have any doubt that you would like to clear and you get yourself cleared about, email if you would like to meet me personally, and just, yeah, you can just directly comment your thoughts in the comment section. So yeah, thank you guys for watching the video till the end, and let's meet in another designing video in the future. Thanks.